Welcome to Girl Dad, the podcast, the essential podcast for fathers navigating the complex but rewarding journey of raising daughters. I'm your host, Madeline Anderson, and I'm thrilled to bring you honest conversations with dads and daughters, sharing heartfelt stories, actionable advice, and real daughter perspectives that will help you be the best girl dad you can be. Jesse Karp, welcome to Girl Dad, the podcast.
Hey, Maddie. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Great to see you. Thank you for being here. I would love for you to just kick it off by maybe introducing yourself, what you do for work, a little bit about your family.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. My name is Jesse Karp. I am the proud father of two girls. I have Sophia, who's 3 years old, and baby Maya, who just turned 2 months. And we've been having a total blast having these two little girls run around. For work, I work at YouTube. I'm the head of marketing technology. I've been there for about 3 years. And prior to that, I was in a couple startups. And before that, I was in the travel industry for about a decade. So yeah, staying busy, having a lot of fun, but it's been great working, living, dadding, all the good stuff.
Love it. Well, thank you again for being here. I didn't realize that she was only 2 months, so you are really in the thick of it. So thank you for taking the time to do this. That's
Of course.
yeah, that's a challenging time, I'm sure, but I would love to think back on maybe when you first found out you were going to be a dad to a daughter and then once again, and what were those emotions that you were feeling and just yeah, what was that like?
Yeah. I mean, pure excitement. I grew up with an older sister, and I have two stepsisters as well. So there's a lot of females in the family, and I was the only boy. But I've had a lot of like wonderful like female role models in my life, and a lot of women that I deeply admire and respect. And I was just so thrilled to find out that I was having a baby girl. So when we found out she was a girl, I just felt like just an immediate sense of like pride and joy and excitement to help her grow up and learn and shape her to be a wonderful woman in the world. And it's just been such a blast. I mean, she's a kind, brave, sweet, um, friendly, generous little girl, and it's been so fun to watch her grow from being a little baby into a 1 year old and going through initial first milestones. And now she's a silly little girl in preschool, and she's got jokes and little personalities, and she's just like a wonderfully independent little girl in the world. And it's been literally the best thing I've ever done, and it made me feel just like even more confident that having another kid was absolutely the right move. And when we found out that our second kid was a daughter as well, there was just like, all right, this is great. Like I know the drill. I know like exactly how to kind of run this. Well, I don't know all the stuff, but a lot of confidence going in about kind of what it's like to be the dad of a little girl. And I think there's a lot of beauty in them having like a shared experience and both being girls. And I just believe that they're going to have a lot of closeness. And Sophia can be a really good role model to her little sister and just all the things. But yeah, we're in the thick of it right now, with a 2 month old and a 3 year old. There's been some transitions afoot, but everyone's doing great. And so it's been just a continuous joy.
Love it. Have you included Sophia in the parenting at all? Like how is she supporting you but also just enjoying being a big sister?
Yeah, it's a good question. We Sophia was our world, right? And so we wanted to make sure that while we knew it was going to be great for her long term to have a little sister, we recognized that it would be like a little disruptive to her entire existence, right? And so in advance of having the baby, we talked to her a lot about what that's going to be like, and we're all going to have to take care of her, and it's our baby, and you're the big girl, and you're going to teach her all these things. And so we really leaned into like kind of prepping her as much as we possibly could. And I think she responded well to that in a lot of ways up front. And she kept telling people she was going to be a big sister. And she seemed to like develop a lot of like pride around that. Of course, when baby comes, no matter what books you show them and how you talk about it, it's going to be an adjustment. And so I will not lie. There's been some challenging moments and, less of mom's attention and, you got to share more and all those things that she's just figuring out as she goes. But she loves being a big sister. And so, she loves hugging her little sister and she loves running to help like get diapers for her. And, she really likes holding her. When we brought Maya home from the hospital, Sophia initially just wanted to show her little dance moves that she could do, and she wanted to introduce Maya to her dog and all these wonderful things. So when Sophia's in a good mood, she is a wonderful big sister and she helps with so much and she really loves giving her baths and all these different types of things. Of course, there are moments when she's like, get this baby off of mom. It's my turn now. What's going
Of
on?
course.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it sounds like you did everything in your control to set her up for success and set the family up for success with that dynamic. And I do think that's so important. I think there's more and more research coming out about that element of just kind of like the family dynamic between the children and making sure that they feel like their world is still maintained when someone else is introduced and that it's not, that the attention's shifting over. It's really just a change to the family dynamic. So that sounds like you did a great job with that. But I'm sure as they both grow older too, they'll become closer in other ways, when they can both talk and hang out and do things that are aligned. So that's something I'm sure you
Yeah.
can look forward to as well.
For sure. Yeah, baby Maya is pretty boring right now
Yeah.
for Sophia, right?
Yeah,
But we
exactly.
believe like, she's starting to smile a little bit more. And so I think when she starts like moving around and talking and laughing,
Yeah.
Sophia is going to be on cloud nine all the time. And then of course, as they both get older and they can play together, it's going to be, you know,
Yeah.
totally, totally amazing.
Yeah, because right now it's more of like a one-way relationship for Sophia. She doesn't get the other benefit of Maya giving her back a relationship. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's amazing.
It'll come.
Yeah. So, I've heard that this stage of life is extremely fast moving and the babies grow so fast and everyone says that, to make sure you enjoy every moment and whatnot. But I would love to hear, are you documenting this stage of life in any way, or how are you ensuring that you can, be present and enjoy the little moments because everything does happen so fast?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good question. It's funny, my wife, Julie, she has these baby books that her parents made for her with like all these different pages of photos and little sayings and some kind of scrapbooky type things. And we had big ambitions to do that up front, but it fell apart pretty quickly. It's just hard. It's hard to be in the moment deeply, document and kind of write down all these different things that you like really want to remember. And so I have vivid memories of like all sorts of amazing moments that I'm like, I will never forget this. But then even like 6 months later, they start to be a little fuzzy just because you're sleep deprived and there's so much going on and these babies are changing so much. So what we've done instead is one, I do prioritize taking a lot of photos and videos. And so I try to capture these moments of my daughter, my daughters, of all of us together, little sweet kind of still lifes, like Sophia when she's feeling a little sad, she'll go and like lie down on our dog. And I'm just like, oh my God, like what a beautiful image. I just like need to capture that. But additionally, in our kind of like modern tech world, what we've started to do is we have created just like a Google Doc with like Sweet Sophia. It's like Sophia Sweetness is the title of the doc. And so we'll go in and just kind of like jot down like a bullet or two or a line about some core memory or experience or something that she likes doing or the way she says certain words or something like that. It's really charming. And I found that to be like a great kind of happy medium of
Mhm.
like easy way to capture a lot of memories. When I reread those, it like brings up like a really vivid memory that I can attach to them. But it's kind of lightweight, it's easy. I can kind of do this on the fly and doesn't require like, oh, I need the perfect photo and the perfect thing on this scrapbook page or whatever.
So
So,
true.
yeah.
No, I love that. Someone gifted me also, and I'm very grateful for it, but a scrapbook for when I got engaged, and it was the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
photos, and then you write down the memories or,
Yeah.
favorite parts of wedding planning, all these things. And I was really excited about it at first, and I had the intention to fill it out and keep that core memory because I am a very sentimental person and I
Yeah.
love reflecting on those kinds of things. But
Yep.
yeah, life just happens, and I think that the physical element of, printing things out and writing things down can be challenging. And it's something you have to really remember to do. But same thing, just like taking notes on the computer and even just a shared note on our phone of favorite things that happened. Even at our wedding, we just did like a big debriefing and tried to like write things down so that we wouldn't forget, but
Yeah.
also not spend too much time because we're, on cloud nine and just want to be present as well. So there's a fine balance between the two. But I like the idea of the Google Doc because first of all, you can share it with your wife, and also it's something that you can kind of do whenever you think of it, right? Like if you're working and you would just have a thought like, oh, I should really write that down. It's easily accessible. It's not like, okay, let me pause this, switch
Exactly.
over. It's part of
Yeah, you
your,
can kind of fold it into daily life and all that. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea. And I think it's something that you'll be grateful that you have looking back. So,
Already, I'm like so happy that I've done this because, like, just like these sweet little things from a year and a half ago. I'm like, I might have remembered that at some point, but not to the degree or not to like just like a level of specificity. So, yeah, it's been good so
yes,
far.
absolutely. So obviously, things are still new, but I would love to hear about maybe your favorite stories or moments with your daughters.
There's been, it's a great question. There's so many. It's hard to like really pinpoint any like one particular thing that makes me really happy or some favorites. I think that there are a few things that come to mind. I think that one, there's a handful of things that Sophia loves doing that just I can sense she is just in awe, right? Things fill her full of wonder. And so near where we live, there's this like 100-year-old little merry-go-round that I went to when I was a kid. And it's this classic old little merry-go-round. It's very simple, but Sophia goes there and she is just like awestruck. Like her jaw is on the floor and she's looking around, and you could tell she just feels like it's this magical experience. And it feels so special for her that she gets to have this moment. And I just love being there with her. And so I'll take her on a little daddy daughter date sometimes, and we'll go out there and we'll pick our favorite horses or the dog or whatever she wants to ride. And I just love creating a moment where she just feels like this is so special. It's so magical. I'm just here with dad. It's just like an amazing experience.
Oh.
And it's very simple, right? It's just like a Saturday morning, 10 a.m. It's kind of just like part of the day. It's not overhyped, right? But that's something that I can just like really sense in her. Like, this is like so special. And I just like to think that this is something that she just like really kind of holds in.
Yeah.
There's some other things that I think are like really important to me that I love sharing with her. Travel was a big part of my life for decades. I was in the travel industry for like 15 years. I still really believe that like exploring new places and traveling the world is like one of the things that's made me who I am. And so it's really important to me to like share that with Sophia and make sure she kind of like feels that same, well, I hope she feels the same like love and attachment and comfort and connection with the world in that way. And so when she was a little over one, we took her on a 2.5 week trip to Italy and took her all over Rome and Puglia, and just had like the most incredible time, like pushing her in the stroller through the streets of Rome and having pasta and like just wandering around these tiny little streets. And she's got these cute little Italian outfits on and all that kind of stuff. And we've tried to prioritize this as much as we can. So like trips to Mexico, trips to Hawaii, trips to Italy, we're gonna go to France for a month in September. And so I don't know. I like love that. I love seeing her eyes
Yeah.
light up and just explore new things and be totally present in a new environment and just have memories of that. And so
Hmm.
it's to the point where she's like, "Hey, let's go back to Mexico. Let's go to Hawaii." And I'm like, nothing makes me happier than my 3-year-old saying, like, let's get on a plane and go somewhere.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of like, the small kind of mundane day-to-day things to kind of the big. And then, I just deeply love when she crawls into bed with me in the morning and wants me to read her books. Like nothing makes me happier than if she just like wants to snuggle up and I get to read her an entire book end to end and she's just present and happy and safe and just this sweet little ball of joy. And so, yeah, everything.
That's so sweet. And I think on the travel note, you're doing an amazing thing by showing her the world and she learns so much by observing, especially at that age. So it's so great for her to be able to do that and be comfortable with traveling and whatnot. But it's also so great for you and your wife because clearly that was a big part of your life before children. And I think it's so important for, partners to really be deliberate about maintaining their connection and their comfortability with life and kind of where things were before, and then just including their children in that lifestyle rather than switching everything around and making it all about the children and really forgetting that connection that they've had before. So I think that it's healthy in many ways.
Yeah, I agree. It takes practice too, right? Like sometimes traveling with a toddler is not always fun exactly, or it's a much different kind of travel.
I can imagine.
But I just believe deeply that you have to cement some of these norms early and just get them used to it. And then it's like, they, I think, just develop the muscle memory around. Sometimes it's kind of tough, for sometimes you're on the plane and sometimes they don't have the food that you want. All of those things that I think
Yeah,
are really
absolutely.
inspired. And then also, I think for us as parents, you kind of remember like, okay, we can get through this. It's not that hard. You got your rhythm. You figure out what works. But
Yeah,
yeah, I agree.
absolutely. So, one thing that I love to talk to dads and daughters about is work-life balance. I find that a lot of dads that are great dads are extremely busy with work, and obviously that rings true for you. I mean, you have a demanding job and you have a growing family, including a newborn. Like work-life balance is probably a challenge at times. So would love to hear about any, time management secrets or just ways that you're being really intentional about work-life balance with your family.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's something I continue to work at. I will say that, you know, before having kids, I think I had a harder time setting boundaries at work. And I would basically say, okay, I got to keep working. Let's just make this happen. And I had a lot of things in my life that I cared about, but it was easier to sort of sacrifice some of that stuff if like work was just really busy in a moment. And when I had a kid, I realized like it is a non-negotiable for me to make sure that I am present in at least the most important parts of the day where I can experience like after school or, dinner, bath, bed, like those kind of like 3 hours or whatever are just like they're so connecting, they're so important. And I was like, I just need to prioritize this. And so feel fortunate working at Google, YouTube, that is a very like family friendly place. And so I just straight up block off time on my calendar every single day from like 4:30 to 7 and say like this is just family time, do not schedule. And I get myself a very clear cutoff where I just like stop working no matter what's happening. And I do my absolute best to like put my phone down, put the computer down, and just lean into like really being present during those hours. And I
Hmm.
think that in exchange, sometimes I have to work at night once Sophia or Maya goes to sleep or something like that. But I think that it's just I can't imagine anything worse than feeling like I'm just like working, 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 and then I kind of miss a lot of these moments. And to me,
Hmm.
it's like parenting doesn't just show up on the weekends, right? It's like it's every day. You have to feel connected. And so I love being up with Sophia in the morning, trying to make her breakfast, or at least being there to eat breakfast together. And then in the afternoons, just having like a solid like 2, 3 hours. And then on weekends, like really try to prioritize doing a couple like real solid things with her. Well, usually family time happens pretty regularly on weekends. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's still moments that come up, right? Like oftentimes I have to commute and sometimes I'm home later than I would like. And sometimes there's work trips and sometimes there's like deadlines. And so it's a balance. And I also feel that like I need to make sure that I'm present as much as I possibly can be. But I also believe that it's like a deep partnership, right? And like Sophia needs like me, but she needs mom. And I kind of view us as like a parenting unit. And I think there are moments where she feels so great because mom's there and that it kind of allows her to know that like dad's there also, right? In many ways. And so I feel like it's a partnership, it's shared, but I do just really try to prioritize making sure I can really turn off and be with her. And sometimes I feel like if you get really solid, like punctuated hour and a half in, that is worth a lot, right? It's not always necessarily like hours or like duration of time that you're with someone. It's like how you are engaged. And so I find that when I'm pick her up from preschool and we'll go to the park, come home and do a puzzle or something like that, and just put my phone down, I'm totally with her. That like fills up their cup in a major way and
Hmm.
mine. And then it kind of I can take a break or finish something if I need to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that the one word that really stands out to me about what you were just saying about work-life balance is intentionality. Like you are very intentional about everything you do, which doesn't surprise me because I did work with you and I think that you were always intentional. But I think it really shines through with the way that you're going about this whole, balance of work and life and just being really intentional with the time that you do have, and making sure that, yeah, your phone's away, you're present, or you're just really taking advantage of those moments, but also being really intentional about the boundaries that you set. And so that, you're not just continuing to work when you can, cut off and really carve out the time for your family. And even just putting it on the calendar in the first place is you being intentional about that time. So I think that's, a great lesson. And also, as your daughters grow older, I think the more you can explain to them what you do, why you do it, and include them in your world, the more that the work-life balance really doesn't, like the amount of hours doesn't matter as much, right? Because they understand, okay, dad's at work, he's doing this because he likes it, he's just doing it
Yeah.
because of this is what he does, this is his role. Then they feel inspired by you and not like pulled away from you because you're at this mysterious thing called work that they have no idea what it
Yeah.
is,
I think it's a really good point. No, I agree. I think I could probably continue to lean into that thinking. Because I agree. It's like I think work is really empowering and
Hmm.
it's interesting and it's fun and it's important. And, we live in the Bay Area and like, things aren't cheap and
Yep.
everybody has to work and we are able to do some nice things. Very fortunate because dad has a great job and he didn't get there accidentally. And so I agree. I think there's a lot of role modeling um, available to kids by like having work be something that's like something to aspire to versus like something to your point to like come between you and the family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that some of the busiest dads who have the most minimal time are still some of the best dads because of the way that they include their daughter in their world and also the way that they are intentional about the time that they do have. Like it's really not, I always think of like, work-life balance is this teeter-totter with like work on one side and life on the other and it's the time spent on each, but that's just it's not the case. You have to like scrap that image and like really focus on just like being intentional about the time that you do have, even if it's 20 minutes or an
Yeah.
hour, like you mentioned. It means
Yeah.
so much more than just, sitting and like being on your phone next to your daughter. Like that's really not doing anything. So,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah, love that. Well, speaking of your job and work, you work, at YouTube, and so you are very much in the digital space. And I know your daughters are young, but would love to hear from you about maybe your thoughts on setting them up for success in such a digital world. Like, do you have any thoughts on kind of that balance and raising daughters when there's so many distractions, so many opportunities to be on social media? Like, what are your thoughts just as someone who's very much in the industry?
Yeah. That's a really good question, Maddie. To be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure because we're so far away from that, right?
Hmm.
Benefit of having a toddler and a 2-month old right now. We're just a ways away from like Sophia or Maya asking for a phone and trying to be on social media and all this kind of stuff. I will say I think about it a fair amount in that like, when I grew up, no one had cell phones and we just had this like really beautiful existence outside and playing and riding our bikes and all this kind of stuff. And so I recognize that the way that kids are coming up now is much, much different. And there are a lot of serious, potentially negative implications or impact on especially young women being exposed to so much content that is not always the healthiest. And so I will tell you like my immediate sort of instinct is I want to make sure that I can do everything in my control to make sure Sophia and Maya feel incredibly confident, happy. They have strong sense of self, high self-esteem, and they know where they can actually kind of find some core validation. And so this might be a little like, you know, aspirational, let's say, but I just think that if you feel really good at your core with who you are, and you feel confident, you feel beautiful, and you feel smart, and people are telling you that you are all of those things, and you just feel okay out there in the world by yourself, my assumption is that you'll feel less prone to like feeling totally like put on blast by looking at social media or feeling like, oh my God, I am inadequate and some of these things are really making me feel bad.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I'm like, for now, I tell my daughter every day before I drop her off at school that she's smart, and she's beautiful, and she's kind and generous and loved and all these things. And like, I just want her to like feel some like real affirmations from me and everyone around her. Right. And so I think just getting her surrounded by love and feeling empowered early is really important. Having said that, I don't know, like I have nieces who are now like becoming teenagers, and like I just see it's very hard to avoid social media, and it's important to have a rich social life, and I think staying up on trends and doing what other kids are doing, I think is also important. And so if I imagine my if the world is in 10, 15 years like it is today, I would want to set some pretty like I don't know, some guardrails around kind of like how much they can see things or what they're looking at. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Come back to me in 15 years.
Well, like you said, I'm sure it'll change by then. They're even doing the I keep seeing that commercial for the Instagram teen accounts. So like I think maybe platforms are starting to be more mindful of what that future looks like and kind of helping parents create those guardrails as you
Yeah.
mentioned. But I think what you said at first is so key. It's like the more your daughters can build their confidence early on and really when it comes to building confidence, it's like the inner confidence, right? Like who they are as a human and like and just knowing themselves and trusting themselves to be capable of doing what they set their mind to. I think those are the kinds of core confidences that really help almost provide like a force field for when it comes to yeah, being a teenager and comparing yourself to others and just all the things that just probably will happen as a teenage girl in a digital world. Like you could try to avoid it as much as possible, but at the end of the day, it is out there. And so just having that core confidence in themselves is so huge. And then also, the reality of knowing that things are edited, people's lives on social media are really not indicative of their true lives outside of what they post. And so the more that I think girls know what you're seeing is not always reality. And then also having that internal confidence, it really helps them kind of
Yeah.
shrug off
Yeah.
things and not take
Yeah.
things so seriously.
Totally. I also believe like you have to learn how to coexist with the world,
Yes.
and so I think that like sort of being like you just can't go on Instagram ever. I don't believe personally is the right approach because if not Instagram, it's something else. And so I think that like I don't know, I believe deeply in like got to teach my girls to know how to sort of interact with the world and pressure test things and know what's real and know what you can kind of take with a grain of salt and all this kind of stuff. And so I kind of at my core view that as like one of my biggest responsibilities of like I can't change the world, but I can like help my kids understand how to like interact with it in the best way.
Yeah, and you just kind of guiding them through social media, but also just life in general is so key because, like you said, I mean, you can't shield them from everything, and so teaching them how to navigate is a great way to go about it as a father. So love that. So going back to kind of the your intentionality and just the way that you are, I feel like you are somebody who is intentional about the way you're parenting, but also the way you're working. So, have you thought about your intentions as a father and what really success looks like for you as a dad? Or are you just kind of like going with the flow and just, you know, learning as you go.
That's a good question. I mean, I will say that like, I mean, I feel fortunate. Like I had, I had a great childhood. I really like my my father and my mother were both very different, and I feel like I like had a bunch of like good modeling of different sort of qualities that I try to find a balance of. I think that in general, I want to make sure that my girls feel totally safe, well loved, really secure, like they just feel confident in the world and they just at their core just like feel like happy, healthy, smart, independent people who can like take on anything. I think is like one of the things that kind of comes up for me a lot. And then in addition to that, I just think the world is like such a beautiful, wonderful place and there's so many amazing experiences and I want them to be able to have a rich, full life where they just enjoy being outside. They know how to ride a bike and they like going on hikes and they like skiing and they like traveling and they have opportunities to take on a lot of different things and explore their interests and hobbies and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that, if they feel good about who they are and they feel like they're having a great time, doesn't none of this has to be fancy, right? But just being able to like really feel like good in their own skin and feel excited about what life has to offer. And they just want to go towards all these things and find what's great for them. Nothing would make me happier. But with that, I also like really believe that, they're kids, they're small, but I really respect them. They have strong opinions and, I really believe that like I gotta listen to them and see what honor their wishes and what's right for them. And so if my daughter Sophia is in kind of a mom mood or something like that for a couple months, or whatever it might be, it's like that's fine, right? And like she needs what she needs, and I just I have a lot of trust that like if I show up in a really strong way for them, they'll come back to me, and I hope that they always feel comfortable to come to me for anything, and I can always be a role model for them and help them, and just like kind of introduce them to life in all the great ways.
Oh, well, that's all amazing to hear. I mean, I already know that you're a great dad, but I'm excited to see how your daughters evolve and especially with you as their father. So those are all great intentions that you're putting out there. And I also really like the idea of getting them outside in nature, as you mentioned. I was just on a podcast recently talking to a dad who used to grow up camping with his daughter and just talked about the immense impact that it had on her and her interests and just how, we live in a digital world, right? As we talked about, but getting out to being in nature and backpacking or camping or hiking and just being in touch with the world, like the earth, is so beautiful and something that can be easily pushed to the side or forgotten just on a day-to-day basis. But the feelings that you feel out there and the lack of distractions and anxieties and just pure bliss that you get from it is so amazing. So yeah, being able to expose your daughters to that kind of peace, I think is such a treat because for me at least, when I'm feeling stressed about things. And if I can just go for a walk on the beach, like on the sand, or there's this little chip path with trees lining it in Manhattan Beach that's just, you just feel so much better when you're outside. So just kind of getting to learn that about themselves, I think would be really beneficial for them. I'm sure they'd appreciate
Yeah,
that.
100%. And like I love all this stuff so much and I want to be able to do it with them. And remember there was a part of your book, Maddie, when you were talking about your dad is a big golfer and he would like take you along and you had some advice like don't just like go golfing without them, like pull them into this stuff. And so
Yeah.
I don't expect my girls to necessarily love all the things I do, but I want them to I love the idea of being able to like share this stuff with them, right? And like
Yeah.
we're both like hiking together or going skiing or whatever it might be, right? And so
100%.
just kind of bringing them along and if they find, some pleasure in some of these things that I love, like great. And if not, at least they have the option of participating if they want.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exposing them to all kinds of potential for them to find their interests and passions and hobbies. But yeah, on the golfing note, it actually was really fun the other day. So I got married a month and a half ago, and um, yeah, thanks. It was so much fun. But I made the Thursday of the wedding. We got married in Palm Desert, and we did like a Wednesday to Monday, just kind of like at a big house with our friends. And so the Thursday was a golf tournament, and I'm just so grateful that my dad exposed me to golf and taught me how to play because it has just brought so much joy to my life in so many ways. But this was a great example because we did a 4-person scramble. There were 8 teams, and I requested that my dad was on my team. And obviously, as the bride, I got what I wanted. Um, and so he was on my team, and he got to witness me getting an eagle, which was like so
Amazing.
crazy, so amazing. I felt so proud
Was that
of
the first time
myself.
you'd ever done that?
It was the second, but it was like the other one was it was such a short course.
I'm impressed, Maddie.
Thank you, but it was so fun for me and for my dad. I could just feel how proud he was of me, and I was so grateful reflecting because he's the one who taught me to play. Like if he didn't take me out on the course with his friends, if he just wanted that time to be with his guys, which respect that as well, but he didn't take me out every time, of course, but he taught me. And he also didn't give up golf to hang out with me. That it's a commitment, but he continued to do what he loved and he found ways to include me in it. And fast forward, like now it's something that I really love, and we got to have those special moments at the wedding together.
That
And yeah,
That's
no, it
amazing.
was great. So yeah, just going along with what you said, I think it really is a beautiful thing to be able to include your daughter in your world and see what shared memories and shared passions come from it. Thank you. So, as we're wrapping up here, would love to hear about what your one piece of advice would be for new dads with daughters or with daughters in general.
Man, you know, I will say I think a lot about the future right now. Sometimes I'll be in these moments where it's incredibly busy or loud or stressful, or you have a crying toddler and a crying baby and long days at work. And it just can be a little overwhelming at times. But I sometimes think into the future that one day these girls are going to be like 15 and 18 and they're going to just be off with their own friends and doing whatever they want. And, in this future vision, we still have a great relationship, but it's just different, right? They're like a little bit more independent and grown and have their own lives. And thinking about like, oh, I'm going to like deeply miss or crave the days when like my daughters just believe I have hung the moon and I'm like the coolest person ever. And she wants nothing more than to hang out with me and do whatever it might be. And so I try to like think about that sometimes when I'm tired or I'm in a moment where I've something stressful. And I just really try daily to be really intentional about being super present and being in the moment and just being totally available when these girls are just so excited to be with us and they want nothing more than just like spend time together. And that's something I just know is like a fleeting moment, big picture in life, and so important for them and so important for me. But I think it's easy sometimes to like get caught up in like everything else going on in life that you have to focus on.
Hmm.
So I really try to just be incredibly present, enjoy all these moments, and also having a second kid, I realized that like, what I learned from the first is like, all of these things are just little phases, and they grow out of all of them, and they all sleep well over time. They all grow out of diapers. They all learn how to talk, all this kind of stuff, and so just being just deeply appreciative about every little moment that you have.
Hmm. I love that. And it aligns very well with the theme of intentionality. But I think, with daughters specifically, but children in general, pick up on all those feelings that you have. So even at a young age, if you're distracted, they can sense that. And so being really intentional, even when they're young and it seems like, oh, you know, they won't really understand this. They feel it. And so I think that's a really important piece of advice. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today, and I appreciate all of the advice and wisdom that you have for other new dads out there. And I'm excited to see your fatherhood journey continue to grow and develop. And yeah, your daughters are very lucky.
Well, thanks, Maddie. So good to see you as always. And I will tell you that I think about your book often. And there's a lot of great content and advice within there that I really like just think about often, but also I think the spirit of the fact that you had such a great childhood and your dad meant so much to you is something that I really think about a lot. And like I hope that my daughters grow up to have that same feeling. And I don't know, it's like I do think about you and I think about your book a lot. So I appreciate what you're doing and bringing all these great messages to all the dads out there. And I really believe in what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in to Girl Dad, the podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow girl dad. I read every review and truly take your words to heart. To close out, remember, your intentional moments make lasting legacies. See you next week.